our first match featured today. Antic Esports, Spark and Kuda versus Min and Chung, the two Red Devils from South Korea. And this is pretty much the who's who of the APAC region in terms of actually individual players. You've got, of course, Spark and Kuda, who were the original winners of the regionals back in Stage 1. They were the first and I think only APAC team to go on to compete in the All-Stars Championship last year during the Trackmania World Tour. That happened in Stage 1, obviously. Of course, Spark coming home in second place at the latest edition of the AOTC in 2023. And of course, Min, the one and only Emperor of APAC, as I like to call him, two-time AOTC champion. The last time around, of course, it was at the 2023 edition, accompanied by Chung, which made a lot of progression, of course, coming in from a bit of a shaky day one last week. Yesterday showed a lot more promise, and I don't know about you, but I feel like Antic is going to have a lot of a rougher time to try and salvage a win against arguably some of the top contenders for the overall title here.
Yeah, I agree with that. But of course, I think you forgot about a team that has beaten Sprout back in the days. Trident Esports, yeah, if you remember that. Complex and Neumatt have played in that team, if I get it from the top of my head. But of course, we have a very strong duo. We have the Muda Slayer, Min, playing together with his teammate. And I think this will be the story. Can his teammate keep up with his pace? And as you can see here, it will be pick and ban. So we have 2 maps being banned, and then it is 4 maps being picked, and the last map is just randomized, or just a map that is still over.
Yeah, indeed. So Agartha and Simplicity. Agartha maybe just a bit of a wildcard map for TRD that just wanted to get completely over with, and Simplicity being banned by Antic. So this is a bit of an interesting one, because that means we'll get to see probably Shias during the actual match itself. It depends on where it lands on the pick and ban process. Waiting will be our opening map. Now we just wait for a bit more of a pondering choice, maybe for both Chung and Min, currently sitting in for trying to go for the their own second pick, trying to go for a map that maybe not exactly the most slam dunk of a map, maybe not a Candy Crush, but maybe something like, I don't know, Luminance could actually come in handy to try and get a map early on. Also, one thing I wanted to correct, it's not Complex and Neumann that actually played in the World Championship at Beat Sprout. It was J-Swag and Baywhack that actually went in and qualified to the middle stage of the World Championship. It's 3-piece that will be our map pick coming in from TRD. Shias will be coming in at map 3, so Shias is guaranteed arguably the hardest map of the entire pack, as we've already gone at length over this with both Max and Kredi. Candy Crush will be coming in at map 4, and the decider will be on Luminance.
Yeah, so we both added up ourselves very nicely for that piece of information there. So there you go. I really look forward to this match here and see how this one will develop. But also, guys, if you want to take a look onto the POVs, or like just POV casts from the teams, I know that Lakanta for a fact is doing one, but also there will be plenty of other streams to follow. So make sure to do that and have fun in there as well. I can just say that. They're all great people, especially Lakanta, very chill guy. I love him when it comes to just vibing out and just chilling, right? He's a good streamer.
Yeah, I guess I will take your word for it, because I'll be completely honest. I've been kind of off the Twitch side. I've been more focusing. I've been more a YouTube consumer. I'll be completely honest with you, but yeah, I'll definitely take your word for it, as you're a bit more of a Twitch connoisseur compared to me, where I'm just a complete boomer at this point. Anyway, we'll be heading straight into the game, ladies and gentlemen. We are done with the picks and bans, and we're going to go straight into our first map, which is, of course, Waiting. And yeah, the start already announces the color, as we've already said time and time again, with that tight slalom before heading into a drop down, followed by a banked 90-degree left-hander that actually also lands itself into a triangle line that you'll be able to see here from the perspective of Chung. Probably one of the hardest starts that you'll get to see here on the OPL.
Yeah, I mean, it is Ski Freak maps in a nutshell, right? He always builds very difficult maps and has this kind of triangle-ish taste to it. So triangle checkpoints are something that he uses on a regular basis. Also, this finish that you have to cross during the mid part of this map. I mean, this one is not too hard comparable to the start, but it is there, and the triangle is definitely a let's say a signature move from Ski Freak. But let's move on. I mean, it's also a map from Yami and Lin, so it's a 3-way map. And let's go into the first round. Let's see if Shun can keep up with the pace from Min, Spark, and Kuda. as we have a good start right now for Min, who finds himself in the lead. Good line over there as well. Minimize airtime accordingly, setting up very nicely for the drift. But Spark had a bit better speed, but hesitates a little bit more. Let's follow Kuda and Chung here, but Chung is so far behind. He will not play a role, so Kuda can maybe snipe away a second or even first position with a good ending here. But it looks like Min is quite far ahead. Make it 0.2 of a second, gets a good transition there as well. And I do think that this will be a draw. Also Chung with a respawn, but it doesn't matter. Min will stay on first. Spark and Kuda second and third. Spark with a small mistake, but it doesn't matter because the risky is not so hard. 55.968, also a good time for Min.
Yeah, straight out of the gates, dipping below the 56 range, courtesy of Min and Chung. Unfortunately for him, that first mistake came in at the jump into the very first dirt part of the track, where he decided to go a little bit high, a bit too early, just before the right-hander, and thus had the left side of his car basically clobber the outside wall and completely ending his run to make any kind of impact whatsoever on the outcome of a round. As we go into round 2 now, it will be Min getting, again, a superb start to move ahead of Kuda, who manages to get it a little bit cleaner compared to what it was on the first round, where he was a little bit shaky just before the jump into the dirt. Again, Kuda looking a little bit sideways just before the transition onto the plastic, and we see Spark, his teammate, trying to keep himself within the reach of the lead and trying to tandem this with his teammate, as Chung has also left a little bit of time on the table, around half a second down compared to his leading teammate. Min just trying to press B for boost at this point early on in the game to try and assert dominance and make a statement of intent for himself. As we take a look at the splits here, it will be a 45.7 at this split just before the final set of corners with that semi-blind left-hander, which is very tricky to approach. Then the final checkpoint at the jump into the finish line, the time at the end will be a 0.912, once again dipping below the 56 mark, and it will be once again a draw, with Chung being even ever so slightly less far back, but still 7/10 down at last place is the last thing you want for the red side.
Yeah, but this is also a very good time here yet again, as Kuda makes a small mistake, touches the inside, and maybe gets penalized a little bit, but he definitely sacrificed a bit of speed, so he doesn't get a smooth transition. So this is now the chance for the two Red Devils to move up into the lead. Chung currently struggling a bit, has a 55.96 as his PB, but we did not really see too much from that for now, as Min was driving that in both of those rounds. And now Chung just has to make sure to be on that third position. But right now it seems like Min and Spark will have a closer fight, because Chung fell a bit further behind, but he can save it, of course, as he is half a second ahead of Kuda with that mistake that he did in the start. Spark also now with the best drift, and there you go. It will be the victory for the two Red Devils, and they go into the lead. I mean, both teams, if we also talk a little bit about the standings, both teams are very close to each other. Both teams have won 5 matches so far and conceded 1, and have, of course, then 16 map wins and 4 and 6 losses respectively. So they're very close to each other. Top 6, of course, goes through, but the seeding definitely matters in that way, because first and second seed will skip the upper bracket quarterfinals.
Yeah, indeed, but their run to the 5-1 was completely different, whereas TRD had a little bit more of a uphill battle at the start of the season. It was pretty much the contrary for both Antic Esports players, as Min this time makes an uncharacteristic mistake, and Chung follows that up at the start of the second sector. So this is the golden opportunity for Antic to level the gap back out and actually make this yet another draw situation, or maybe even better, trying to take the ace away here on this round, as Kuda is trying to catch back up thick and fast to Chung's car at the moment. Currently, the gap is hovering around the 2/10 mark, and you can see a much more inner line, a much better send from Kuda, allowing him to move ahead of Chung for second position, but he touches the wall on the inside and bare graze of the wall, and that's the first time we're going to be seeing a 56 driven, a 56.305, and that came from Min's mistake at the double right-hander just before the grass part at checkpoint number 4. Yeah, as I was saying, there were two different kind of runs toward that 5-1 scoreline for Antic and TRD. Antic, of course, having an uninterrupted 5-game winning streak that was interrupted last time around, of course, on round 6 with their loss against Antic Esports. So yeah, two very different sets of momentum that are actually at play here. And I wonder if TRD is having a case of a good old one-map warm-up scenario, a bit of a diesel engine map, as they're struggling to find their footing here, especially Chung, who's having a lot of trouble catching up to his teammates.
Yeah, he has been struggling a lot during this match to just match the pace from the other 3 remaining players. We see a mistake from Chung, and I think it was also Kuda making a mistake, but it is not really mattering too much because he still stays ahead, and we have Min ahead after a mistake. But I mean, that's a bit of a wonky start. This really reminds me of how we had Sabo Jr. in the team of Antic. Maybe you guys remember that from the show matches. It was just like a back and forth between like it was first and last, and right now Chung just is pulling the Sabo Jr. because he cannot match the pace, and he definitely has to go out of his comfort zone in order to do so, but making mistakes in the meantime is also not a good thing. So Chung taking home another 4th position, and let's actually take a look onto his crash rate. Chung has a 40% crash rate. I mean, it's not too bad, and we also have someone not starting the round, so never mind. Okay, it was just a lag, it was just rubber banding then. So I thought it was a bit worse than that, but of course he was so often in that last position.
Yeah, he was very often finding himself very often in that last position, and yeah, this is kind of coming detrimental of their actual early game performance for TRD, as this time Min is also finding himself in a little bit of trouble, but both are getting a little bit of a sigh of relief as Kuda had a huge slowdown before the grass banking, allowing Chung and Min to move up into 2nd and 3rd place respectively. Chung going a little bit wide there and maybe a bit close for comfort to that outside retaining wall, but manages to keep it sick and keep it safe on the black stuff, as Spark is now under threat potentially from Min at the final few sets of corners here, but the man from India playing for Antic Esports should be able to retain that place very well, maybe a bit slow at the final corner, but it doesn't matter. 56.2, 62, and it will be yet another draw. It's very reminiscent of the progression style that we've had on freestyle back in stage 1, where it's like draw, 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 a team taking the advantage and immediately counteracting, and then the draw, draw, draw. It's a very sort of painful progression, as I like to call it, because you don't really get any kind of trend to be based off of in terms of the momentum going one way or the other. It's just, I don't know, it's very unpredictable.
Yeah, it's unpredictable, but then like people crash the finish line. I remember, if this is the exact map that I have on the top of my head, when Ratchet and Barbos both crashed the finish arc on that particular map, and we had that hilarious Trilux reaction. Maybe you remember that. That was a lot of fun, but like, I mean, a round can really slip away out of your hands in just just a blink of an eye. And I mean, also speaking of Kuda right now, 50% crash rate, also not really serving his teammate that right. Spark, 0% crashes, 1-2 rounds already, but there is another mistake, and look at this. This is the door opener for Chung and Min. 2 individual mistakes have happened, and I mean, this is just a classic freestyle ending. Close match all along, and it gets decided by an ace and 2 individual mistakes. Spark and Kuda concede map number 1, and 2 Red Devils are leading.
Yeah, 2 Red Devils finally leading, but very much in a kind of a mirror sort of way that we've seen in their last match yesterday. It took a lot of time to actually get any sort of momentum and any sort of advantage going their way. And in this case, it took until the final round and those 2 individual back-to-back mistakes from both Kuda and Spark to actually get the ace to conclude the map. So I think there's still a bit of a cause for concern to be had for TRD, even as we head onto their particular map pick, which is going to be 3-piece, which is a map that feels pretty good to play up until the 3rd sector, where it gets a little bit of an oddball thing, because it's pretty much a full dirt sector that you attack only in 3rd gear. If you go around 250, you try to lift as much as possible, because you don't want to get the upshift. Otherwise, you risk losing a lot more than if you kept 3rd gear over the course of this entire sector, as we're getting started right here, right now, with round 1 on 3-piece.
Yeah, the gear is howling for help if you have gear 3 dirt, and you just want to make sure to not gear up, because the parts can feel very awkward if they're tailored for gear 3 and you're stuck in the 4th gear. You will definitely sacrifice, sometimes even have a second to a second you can lose there if you have it that bad. But let's focus on that particular round, because that is the closest start. And keep in mind, this is Antic's pick, I mean not Trident, 2 Red Devils pick, and they have 1, the pick from Antic beforehand, and look at that. First mistake has been done this time around from Min. Spark and Kuda leading, catching back up, and can maybe get themselves the first ace, but Spark didn't get a good exit, but gets a good nose-side in exchange, so didn't lose that much time, but makes another mistake, so Spark is not doing so well here. Chung and Min are in second and third, and it is Kuda who will win that round. Risky is not too hard overall. You can finish a bit earlier, but you cannot really fail that one unless you attack too much on the inside. But this could have been so much more here for Antic, but they only get 1 point out of that round.
Yeah, this is looking a bit more promising maybe than what it looked during the early map. But yeah, unfortunately, mistakes from both from Spark especially has kind of reared their ugly heads and allowed TRD to try and salvage a draw, and actually manage to salvage a draw, prevent any kind of advantage going the way of the blue side as we're heading into round number 2. It's a good start from Chung actually over the course of the first sector, but as soon as I mention it, of course, goes a bit too early on the platform and full stop picks into the pole. It go bye-bye. It's going to be all down to Min to try and force another draw to be enforced in here on this round. He's going to be neck and neck with Kuda heading into the middle sector, then the third and final sector, again still sitting in third gear around that 200 kph mark, and you can see Kuda trying to go a little bit more on the outside, trying to carry a bit more speed all the way through the corner, lets the car roll through, but it's still Min trying to pounce and going a little bit more inside, managing to make the move stick, but he still has Kuda snapping at his heels, moving on to the final sets of corners, trying to go for the nose line. He doesn't get it right, and that allows Kuda to snipe him to get the victory for Antic, with Spark in third place, 56.979, dipping below the 57 mark. A great time being driven by Kuda. We were just above the 56 mark for Min, but great nose slide on the part of Kuda there.
Yeah, but also a good setup beforehand, so he was really setting up for that nose slide, getting himself much more speed into the ending, and those times also very fast. World record is a 0.754 by Min, so they're just driving 0.2 off of the world record, and Antic goes into the lead. This looks much better than map number 1 here for Kuda and Spark, as they again find themselves in the lead. Min, not with the best line over the plastic, will readjust and has less or just has to travel more distance, and thus is further behind, but only make it 0.10 seconds. Shang all here in the mix, Kuda and Spark in the lead. Good line from Kuda. Spark drops behind a little bit. Let's follow him here, and let's see if they can take their first ace of this series. It is looking like a very competitive round here, as we have Spark attacking, goes for a very good line here again. Min is on second place. Kuda will get that nose slide. Spark will actually stay on third position. I thought that Chung will overtake, so there's another victory for Antic here. Let's go for them, but also 0.879 is a very good time, so nice round yet again.
Yeah, very nice round. Everybody regrouped within 0.3 of a second. That was a hell of a race that was being given here over the course of the previous round, but now of course it is a new round, and Chung was coming this close to actually prevent another victory going the way of Antic, but it only missed 10 milliseconds. That's all it took to separate third from fourth here. So yeah, Chung might have some more life left in him, as especially the jump is getting a lot easier due to that mistake from Kuda, who went on two-wheel and headed straight towards the pole as he had no grip to correct the trajectory he was on, and clips from Min will be promoting Spark and Chung from first and second position, and Min down to third at the present moment as we go into sector number 3. Spark currently sitting at 10th and a half ahead of Chung, but the bad exit from the Indian allows Chung to come back. He decides to lift a little bit, wasn't too confident in the car as he was heading up the long left-hander in the dirt, and so Spark has a bit more room to breathe, and it will be a drive that will maintain the status quo and allow Antic to keep their 2-point lead alive as he finishes the track with a 57.189. Chung and Min second and third. Good on Chung for trying his best, but ultimately, that third sector, again, didn't really feel as confident as he would have liked to have been in that uphill left-hander just before the chicane, thus prompting that win from Spark.
It looks deceiving, but this left-hander is very hard, and the exit speed is so important, but then also in the drift after that, you don't want to get gear 4. It's very important that you stay in the third gear, and then you also have this tight dirt section in the end. But yeah, there's so many crucial sectors on this map, and especially this part here, the entry and also exit out of the plastic is so important, because this will define speed for like 5 to 10 seconds on this map. And right now Min and Kuda had it very well, and it is Spark who is on 3rd position, but still is ahead of Chung, who didn't have a good line, and that was the sector that you were talking about. Min had that really well, and Spark with a mistake goes full into the wall, and also Min with a mistake. So a lot of things have happened here, and it looks like that Antic cannot capitalize from that because Spark is so far behind. And look at that, a 0.859, only 0.1 away from the world record. Spark made a terrible mistake. Could have been an ace for Antic, but like that, it's only a draw.
I feel like it could also have been so much more for TRD. There was a golden opportunity with that mistake from Spark to actually capitalize on that and try to reduce the gap. And unfortunately, Min's own trials and tribulations have kind of put a bit of a stop to all of these hopes, allowing for Spark to retain that lead and take the individual win, guaranteeing a draw for Antic, which put them on map point number 1 actually in this series for the 2nd time in a row. As we're heading on to this next round, it will be an ace required for Antic in case they want to close it out right here, right now. And yeah, Kuda having driven a 0.859, a great round time from the Indonesian player being driven here, but right now he's right within the coattails of Min's car. Min trying to get a little bit of a regain of form, trying to make amends from the previous rounds where he was in trouble, and this time it's Kuda in trouble, having barely grazed the wall with the right rear. Chung moving up into 3rd place, going very close to the outside wall in the chicane. Min and Spark 1st and 2nd, very nicely separated by about 0.3 of a second. Chung under threat from Kuda for 3rd place. Chung getting a little bit too much airtime, and Kuda will retain that 3rd place for himself, and we get yet another draw that will make the situation a little bit easier to manage for Antic, as it is only a victory needed. 56.943 being driven by Min, but ultimately it's not quite enough, with his teammate not able to enable a victory to be coming in, and we seem to have seen another slowdown, or maybe it was just an impression, but yeah, already a couple of tenths being left on the table there.
Yeah, a couple of tenths definitely being left behind, but also Min was on a banger time in the round beforehand. He lost so much in the ending, and he still drove a sub 57, so good job there from Min 2002, but now he needs to get himself that 1st position again. Oh, but Kuda makes a mistake. So Chung and Min can come back closer, and it could be a 9-8 after that if the positions stay like that, but it is Kuda getting a much better exit out of that 3rd sector, and now it looks to be like a draw, but no, Kuda with a mistake in that sector. Let's see what Spark can do for the ending. But no, it is not enough. Spark will still get that 2nd place though, but it is another victory for the 2 Red Devils, for Min and Chung. 9-8, and it's not over just yet for Antic. It looked so promising for them, so many good rounds at the beginning, but they were throwing a little bit and just dropped a point here and there, and they're definitely not out on that one just yet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feared for Min towards the end, but unfortunately Min has made a mistake very early on in this round, just before the 2nd checkpoint rang the bell, so it will be all down to him to try and actually catch up, because they're in a bit of a predicament right now. They do need a victory at the very least to force this into overtime as early as game 2, but it doesn't look like that situation is bound to happen, as Min is facing checkpoint after checkpoint, obstacle after obstacle, and currently it looks like Antic has got this round under lock and key, with Kuda well ahead of his teammate, battling with Chung for 2nd place. The gap around 0.3 of a second there or thereabouts as we head into the 3rd and final sector in the dirt. Great outside dirt line from the part of Kuda before heading into that particular drift in there. Spark still retaining 2nd place just ahead of Chung. Maybe a little bit slow there. Min trying to come back, but it's too little too late. It will be an ace to kick things off and conclude in style for Antic with 12-8 the final score. And both teams having taken each other's map picks. They're trading maps left and right in the early stages of this best of 5.
Yeah, but Antic looking really good on this particular map. The Ski Freak map beforehand, waiting. I mean, maybe they just picked that this is not the decider. Maybe that is the case. What they were in, that they went into that. So this could be it. And now we have another map by Jorday. It is Chias. And I do look forward to this one here as well. Another mixed map where you can catch airtime a lot of times, and it can catch you off guard. Lines again look so easy, but we're gonna see small mistakes just snowballing, and at the end, all of a sudden, you're 1 to 2 seconds behind.
Yeah, arguably, this is probably, as I said, the most difficult map in the entirety of this AOPL map pack as round one gets underway here on Shia's. First of all, the start, extremely tight, extremely technical. You don't really have any room for error when it comes to actually
Yeah.
taking alternative lines in there. And then, of course, that section on the plastic with a triangle line that follows to a very, very tight banked right-hander because of the poles around the outside and lots of other things that make this track absolute hell to go through whenever you're casual players like me. Min and Kuda having made mistakes early on in the round, just before the end of the first sector, as Spark will try to take up the mantle to try and force an individual win going the way of Antic. It's going to be down to Chung to also try to fly the flag for TRD in the moment. It looks as though advantage is Spark, but he actually clobbers the wall on the outside dirt on the right-hander, allowing Chung to move up into the lead. Here is the other pain point of this track, this drop down into the quarter pipe when you need to get the proper speed and the proper angle for it. Otherwise, you get a bad bounce and it's pretty much over. Also, this draft road, you need to take the proper line, but also not be too much at an angle, because otherwise you scrub off way too much speed, and thus Chug manages to make it through perfectly before the end, which is a little bit more sedate. And despite Spark's comeback, along with Kuda, making it a little bit more interesting, it will be Chung taking the early win with a 59.238, and Min, unfortunately for him, doesn't get the start that he would have wanted to have, but that might end up being the trump card of TRD, because if you look at the PB from Min at the bottom and the WR at the top, you realize they're at the same time. And reason for this, he's about 2/10 clear of the nearest time on the overall leaderboard on this track. So this is maybe something, maybe he knows something we don't.
Yeah, maybe he's aware, but also the finish time that we have seen in the previous rounds, 1 second away from the world record, but also Shung's first victory of this particular season, or sub-match rather. I guess he has won a match in this group stage, but also Min here with a mistake, so it is Spark and Kuda on first and second position, so this could be vital for them to just go into the lead on their second map pick. They have lost their first one, but also Kuda has lost his second position in this round because he has touched the outside there, and Min overtakes him in exchange. But still, 2 points awarded for them, and like that, Antic looking strong, better than on Ski Freak's map, or rather one of the Ski Freak maps here. I mean, waiting was definitely not good for Kuda and Spark, and now I wonder, like, I really want to get the insight after that. Like, why did they pick that map? Because they made a lot of mistakes on that and did not seem that comfortable on it.
Yeah, as soon as we say that, though, there are a couple of mistakes creeping in from that particular start sector here on Shias, as both Min and Spark, and Min having made another mistake on top of that. So we're down to a 2-horse race up front, with Kuda taking away the reins of the round from Chung as we heading into that plastic part. It's going to be Kuda trying to go for a little bit of tap-tap-taparoo, same for Chung, but right now it is going to be the Indonesian player from Antic that's going to be in the firm lead of around 0.2 of a second. Chung managing to keep the car away from the wall. That left rear was looking tantalizingly close to touching the outside retaining wall there on that right-hander in the dirt, and then the drop down into the grass wall quarter pipe before the reactor, and you can see the gap is just completely unassailable at this point. Kuda having a 4/10 advantage with just a few corners remaining. This is looking like a great round for him on the individual performance side, but as soon as I say that, he barely touches the inside of the finish block. Does get in with 3/10 to spare, but it kind of ruins the particular pretense of the run. I feel like it would have driven a 0.8, a low 0.8, maybe high 0.7, but still a victory for Antic. And again, TRD not really looking to be in tip-top shape, just like we saw at the end of the day yesterday. And it looks as though they might be getting the better of him, and they might concede yet another map. Well, this is a bit early days, but yeah, it's not looking good for the Korean duo.
Yeah, I mean, this round is very, very decisive for the two Red Devils if they can build up some momentum, if they can find the groove. Because right now, you said Min has the world record, but what does the world record mean if you 0.4 behind in a round? It means absolutely nothing. I mean, yeah, you can make a comeback, and Min is certainly able to do so. I mean, he has a very good downhill there, actually, and has a lot of speed and actually overtakes too, but makes an additional mistake. Maybe he pushes a bit too much, and Min will not play a role, and mistakes just snowball very much. Let's take a look onto the battle for second place here as Kuda steers in too early and Chung overtakes, but also makes a mistake. Speech bubble moment over speech bubble moment, and also Spark with a 0.692. Nice time, but even nicer is that Antic gets themselves an ace and are now 5 points clear ahead of the two Red Devils. They need 2 more points to regain control and go into the lead in this sub-match.
Yeah, this challenge is starting to fall apart from the red side, unfortunately for them. But yeah, Antic looking to be very much more solidarity going in between each other rather than currently going in TRD, where there is a little bit of a deficiency coming in from showing. It seems like the performance from day one is starting to rear its ugly head again on the part of Min's teammate. Min this time trying to go for a little bit more of an attacking approach, trying to make amends and trying to catch up for the lost time, but with his teammate completely down in the doldrums in P4, it's going to be looking like a very uphill battle at this point, especially with that slow exit from the dirt, allowing both Kuda and Svar to catch it back up and to try and overhaul him for both first and second place to make this into an ace for Antic Esports. Min going a bit too wide and clipping at the inside of the ring as well, and it looks like it will be game over here on Shiaz as Kuda and Spark will almost cross hand in hand. Kuda taking the lead overall with a time of a 58.602. Great time being driven by the Indonesian. Spark in second place, and against all odds, Antic taking yet another map pick for themselves, and a map pick that is, of course, theirs actually in particular, because they lost their first map pick to TRD, but now they're entering in a bit of a dominant position because Game 4 is pretty much theirs to lose at this point, and it's TRD's to win if they want to keep the dream alive at this point.
Yeah, but that was also a well-deserved map victory there. Min, who has the world record on that map, did not really show the confidence in this downhill corner, but also in all of the other sectors. It looked a bit shaky, especially in the outside dirt turns, which are sometimes very hard to predict. So now they have to win their last pick. It is a map from Mime. It is Candy Crush. And let's see what this one has to offer. World record is also by Min. Hopefully this will not play a crucial role this time and just put expectations onto him. But what is certainly to say is that Spark and Kuda definitely built up some momentum. The Indonesian and Indian duo has gotten themselves a very, very clean victory on the previous map. And with that, they can confidently go into the last pick from two Red Devils.
Yeah, indeed. But also looking at the two Red Devils, as Chung unfortunately has a little bit of a sluggish start compared to what he wants to be. He is going to get another place back, though, with that little clip from Kuda at the very inside edge after that double left-hander. So we're on to a victory scenario, provisionally speaking, for both Min and Chung. But yeah, Min and Chung having 56.6 and, of course, 56.3 for Min in terms of PBs, and 57s and 56.9s for the Antic Esports. So a bit of pace deficiency on the side of Antic. Let's see if they can compensate with consistency. But right now, it's not looking that good with that mistake from Spark, also hugging the inside wall on that double right-hander uphill. And thus, it will be gifting on a silver plate the first ace of the map towards TRD. If they can make the risky fin, of course, we're going to have to wait and see. Min makes it just fine. Same for Chung, 57.231 to kick things off. Just a bit more of a leisurely pace, quote-unquote. Very big air quotes there. But TRD take a very much needed ace, 3-0.
Yeah, very good start, and the head start for them to start off map number 4. Let's see if the two Red Devils can keep it up as Kuda gets a wonky start, clips, but doesn't lose too much, doesn't get penalized, and magically regains control. This looked absolutely beautiful there. And also Shun going for the outside approach, has more speed and also a better alignment than, for example, Kuda, who had to respawn, clip the hole, and also Spark. Third position, so this looks to be like a very good pick here for the Koreans. Look at that, they are ahead. Min and Chung looking absolutely good on this map, and this could be over very quick. Min, however, with a mistake and also having to respawn, so they just throw away this ace here by the looks of it, but Min still overtaking Kuda here. Let's take a look onto that fight, because Spark is too far behind Chung, who will win this round. And it is Min versus Kuda here for the third position. This is for the points. Kuda with a great approach, and Kuda will still stay ahead after a good ending section. But this could have been much more for Min in particular. And like that, they only get 1 point instead of 3.
Yeah, it was all down to CP7 with that uphill right-hander in the dirt, that fourth gear corner, where after that you get a very shallow entry to the left-hander after that. It almost kind of feels like a chicane actually at the entry, the way that it actually is built up. But yeah, unfortunately for him, went a little bit too wide at the very exit, so he ended up hugging the wall not once but twice before heading into the outside of the retaining wall as well for the subsequent corner. thus completely tanking his momentum that he actually built up until this point. Right now into the next round we go, round 3 here on Candy Crush. It will be a great start on the part of Min Chung, this time falling a little bit in the backseat right there, taking a little bit of an outsider approach, trying to pick up places as soon as possible, trying to pick his fights, currently sitting at the battle for 3rd place with Kuda. Spark currently sitting in 2nd place. It might be another draw coming in the wings, but Kuda still under threat from Chung here in the final sectors, but Chung decides to go for a bit more of a conservative approach, which means Kuda is able to actually spiral through, but he clips at the very edge there before the transition back to the road, allowing Chung to move back up into 3rd. 56.724 on the part of Min. With Chung in 3rd, it will be a victory going the way of TRD, who move on to 6-2.
Yeah, Chung lost his gear there on this plastic sector by steering in a bit too much, or definitely oversteer it. I mean, we have seen different lines as well, so maybe you can lose the gear there, and it's somewhat worth it. But I mean, this outside, I want to talk about this outside line here that Chung in, I think round number 2 went for, because this one didn't look that bad in particular, because you have a long stretch coming up where you just have to have a lot of speed, and also Sparky with a very risky line jumps like Mario, and with that doesn't get himself the best exit and also entry into that 3rd sector. And it is Min and Chung now 1st and 2nd again. And let's see if they can stick it this time, as I think Min is also an okay time here, as he's 1/4 of a second ahead of his teammate. And I mean, you can hold the gear here. Chung was losing it beforehand. And, well, there you go. It is 2-9 here, unless Min and Chung will fail the ending. But nope, this will not happen. 2-9, and this looks really good. And I think we're going to go to map number 5. A miracle has to happen for Antic to win this one.
Yeah, right now they need an incredible fall from grace for TRD to even enable themselves to claw the gap back and make it into an even scoreline, or maybe even take the lead away and prevent TRD from going on to Game 5. But it looks like Luminance will be on the menu right from the get-go, ladies and gentlemen, here on this first game of the day. Currently sitting along with Spark, who has a great start into that particular round, moving into sector number 3, checkpoint number 4. Pretty much picture-perfect lines there. Right now we see Min also in 2nd position, battling along with Kuda for that set 2nd position. As long as one TRD member remains in 2nd place, it should be done and dusted. And Kuda makes sure that that scenario actually happens for the red side with that little touch of the wall on the outside. Of course, that will be at the detriment of his teammate, and that is completely unprovoked. But yeah, nevertheless, it will still be Min trying to force that point going the way of TRD, and actually taking advantage of a mistake from Spark in the middle of the 2nd sector to move up into the lead of a race of himself. So it looks as though it will be definitely done and dusted with a score of 10-3 waiting in the wings, as Min jumps over to the finish line with a time of a 57.091. Spark and Kuda 2nd and 3rd. Chung comes across the line in P4. 10-3 for TRD. And Kai, first Game 5 of the day. Hopefully not the last. We're heading on to Luminance.
Hopefully not the last Game 5. Who likes 3-0s? I mean, yesterday we also had plenty of 3-0 scorelines, but they were quite close in the sub-matches. But also here we have a race that is on knife's edge as we go to Luminance as the decider. So good luck, have fun to the team. Spywalk has the world record on this map with a 58.315. And let's see who is best on this map. Kuda and Spark didn't really look that good on map number 4, but opposing to that, map number 3 went heavily in their favor. So
Exactly.
I think this map can go either way. It really depends on who has prepared better, who goes into this match better, because, I mean, Min had world record on both of the previous maps and only performed on one of them. So there's so many factors to consider, and I do think it's all about momentum and who can hold on to the pressure more or less. So here we go, round number 1 on our last map, and Min with the first mistake.
Yeah, indeed, and you said that it was going to be all about momentum, but also about the homogeneity of the performance and the consistency of each and every team. Because yeah, Min does hold a time that is close to the world record of 0.342, but it seems as though he's become a bit more of a glass cannon as matches go by here in this AOPL, and his teammate Chung is not really there to be able to be up to the task, despite a 0.558 that looks promising. Spark and Kuda look a lot more dialed in when it comes to consistency and homogeneity of performance. 0.485 for Kuda, 0.522 for Spark. They don't look like the best of times, but they look really similar to each other, and they are right there for each other when it matters the most. That is in live rounds. Case in point, Kuda and Spark first and second, taking advantage of very, very early mistakes from TRD here on Luminance, where they also find themselves at a little bit of a on the back foot in the matches that we actually casted yesterday of them. Kuda and Spark thus will take an easy ace to begin with. 3-0 for the blue side with a .768 and a .892, if I'm correct on my calculations on the
correct.
courtesy of Spark. 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0 for Antic here. Heavy favorite now going into the next rounds, Kuda and Spark. And I hope that this is no burden to them because, you know, having pressure on your shoulders can also be your worst nightmare. And right now, Kuda and Spark both having a good start, but Spark a little bit further behind, had 3% crashes. So I also want to talk about that. Crashed one round, and with crash, I think that's 1.5 or 2 seconds behind first position, but that is a great display of skill and just a nice performance from our Indian player who lags a little bit along the way, but still gets a really good line. Overtakes Shung and also his teammate Kuda, who demotes to P number 3. And Shung can maybe go for the attack with a good ending and deny a victory, which would the two Red Devils fall more and more behind. Spark with a better line. Shung will have more speed. Shung can go for the overtake, but no, doesn't get a good ending. It will be Spark staying on first, and it is a victory for Antic, 5-1. And I mean, the two Red Devils already need of at least a couple of victories here in order to stay alive, but they definitely need an ace.
Yeah, this is now the point of no return where they need to claw that gap back ASAP. And a great retake of the first place at the ending there from Spark to deny that draw from being enforced by Chung there, trying to save his teammates' day. But right now, heading into this next round, Min having a little bit of a wonky landing in the dirt, thus will be falling back down at the very tail end of the field. Right now, Kuda getting a little bit of airtime, and it's going to be Spark having the best start of them all, pulling a gap of almost a 10.5 to 2/10 of a second here on the plastic part at the start of sector number 2. Heading into checkpoint number 8, another pretty tricky transition from platform to grass, and then that particular triangle line before the platform, it's going to be his teammate Kuda, who's going to be coming out the worst for wear of that section, and Spark also looking very, very slow now under threat from mid for that first position. Chung also there in third place, trying to actually make a significant impact, maybe turn that into an ace in case Spark actually falters by the wayside, but it's not going to be enough of a mistake from Spark to actually prompt Chung to move up into second. 58.822 courtesy of Min. It will be a victory for TRD. It's a step forward, but it's not quite enough just yet. There's still 3 points adrift.
Yeah, so Chung lost his gear there, and that's why he was not able to go for the attack. And it's still good here for Antic. I mean, still getting 1 point, and also the two Red Devils not promoting up to 4 points would give them a 2-round winning angle. But now Chung with a mistake, and this could be huge for Antic to go up to 7 points to the map point situation. But they could even get more than that in this round as Kuda gets a really good line, and Min makes a mistake. Kuda and Spark first and second, and 2 individual mistakes could be or are the first nail to the coffin here, as Kuda and Spark can just save it here. And Spark with a risky line was able to stick it through, but Min overtakes. Spark with a smaller mistake will only get themselves then up to 8 instead of 9 points. But Kuda will definitely not throw this one away, even though you can fail the ending, but also Min failed the entry into the plastic, so it will be 9 points instead. Oh, Min, this was very important to at least get 1 point in this round. It is match point, and the two Red Devils are in need of a back-to-back ace.
Yeah, they need 2 back-to-back aces to force this thing into an even score. But right now, the momentum rests firmly with Antic, with Kuda having driven a 58.6 actually in the previous round, which is a really, really decent time. 3/10 away from the record from Baywak, and already the tides are definitely not in favor of the TRD guys, as Chung went a bit too wide in turn number 2, no less, to actually clubber the wall with the right side of his car, and thus it will be all down to Min to uphold at the very least the individual honor of TRD. But in the team standings, it does not matter at all. Spark and Kuda can just safe it. As long as one of those two keeps it in second place at the very least, it's going to be all done and allow Antic to take a victory by the skin of their teeth against the TRD that looks to be a bit more wounded than we first anticipated, as Min tries to make a bit of a pretty face, but unfortunately that pretty face will not last long with a bit too early of an entry into that drop down, and thus it will be an ace to conclude this match in style for Antic. Spark and Kuda hand in hand at the finish line. GG to Antic Esports, who takes the victory 12-3 on this map and 3-2 versus TRD. It looks as though that loss versus Antic, well, that loss versus Trident, sorry, was maybe a thing of the past, like it never happened.
Yeah, maybe it did never happen, but also it was a very, very mixed bag, this match. We had some very, very close rounds where it was just all coming down to the wire, but so many mistakes, heavy rounds as well. So it was definitely something, and GG's to Antic. Maybe with that, they have kind of set the second place in stone, but there's still 2 more play days to go for. But also, most importantly, all matches are also done, so there you go. We are done with the first set here, or with the first installment of matches, round number 7. And Geek, I think we're gonna be back after a small break.
Yeah, indeed. So stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with more action from AOPL Group Stage Day 3.